I had a situation as a supervisor where there was a death of a minor child. I was informed that the child had died from what appeared to be a violent injury. For any child welfare worker, the worst outcome is a fatality. It's what those of us who are honest always fear. Part of you imagines it, what am I going to do if I get this call? So there's kind of a scenario in your head. And then the call comes and it's like, this can't be real, but it is.
The thing that will probably haunt me forever was a time when a whole family came in after a fire. A TV had exploded. The child was 6 or 7, was pretty severely burned. I don't think I got out of there until like 3 in the morning, and I was dead tired, and I remember going home and could not sleep. I couldn't get the smell out of my mind. I remember thinking, like, I don't want to go back there tomorrow. And I got up and I wrote a letter to God. And I asked God to watch over the mother.
There are a number of terms that are being used to describe the impact on the professional caregiver of working with people who have or are experiencing traumatic events. So secondary traumatic stress, indirect trauma, compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma. It's contact experience that you have. That's what vicarious means, that you're not being traumatized primarily yourself, and yet working with people who have been has an effect on you. I was always taught that you couldn't feel other people's emotions, and that turns out not to be true. In the brain, the mirror neuron system has been discovered, and we do feel each other's emotions all the time because our parts of our brain that experience emotions reflect the emotions in another person. And it's a wide range of emotions that come along with trauma. So fear, anger, rage, shame, despair, grief, all those feelings are all part of trauma and exposure to toxic stress.
The constant flow of humanity having to make life and death decisions every day, and you can't be wrong. This pressure to perform at peak capacity, this pressure of fear of being sued for malfeasance is a constant pressure. Those who are extraordinarily effective in caregiving and bedside manners, if you want, those folks are especially vulnerable. If you can't deal with secondary trauma, you're not going to last very long in this field. And everybody knows this. How you manage that is a big deal too. If you are not really doing your job effectively in that because of the emotionalities, if you can't shift to the right side of your brain, then that's a real problem. So many of them leave, in effect. But they too have difficulty in recognizing when they have gone across the line, saying to themselves, I need to take a break, that I'm overwhelmed or I'm filled up or whatever you want to put it.
Burnout isn't a term I especially like because to me that's sort of a shooting star phenomenon, that somebody gets out of school or starts a new job and their plan is to change the world and they think they're going to do it in a matter of days. Sometimes people will burn out. They'll keep trying to change things, trying to do things, and meeting with obstacles. And in the process, will lose their boundaries, will lose their objectivity, may become jaded, angry, cynical. So not only are they not helpers anymore, they start to become a roadblock to getting service. And so fortunately we don't see a lot of that. What I see more commonly is rust outs, and I don't hear that term a lot, but it's just like if you had an old car and didn't wax it once in a while and take care of it, you're going to be thin in the metal. And I think caregivers have to be very careful that they're doing self-care, they're getting support that will help you for the long haul so that you don't hurt yourself.
So professional caregivers can have this image of themselves, this belief that because they've been professionally trained, that they can be very objective, they can maintain that objectivity that somehow insulates them from whatever's being said or done around them. And that's just not possible. If you're around someone who is emoting pain, I don't care who you are, you're going to feel it. And if you don't know that, then you may be confused by your reactions because you think you shouldn't be having the same kind of symptoms that someone who has unresolved trauma often has. So now you're confusing yourself.
By the very fact that we are giving care, that means we're going to come face to face with trauma. And I think that the very first piece of that is to talk about it and to invite our clients to talk about it, but to talk about it ourselves with professional colleagues as well as family members who are able to give an ear.
I think in healthy organizations, there's attention paid to time allotted where these stories can be shared and the person on the receiving end knows how to process that in a meaningful way. Storytelling needs to be a part of the world of people who care for people.
So it's something about that. Maybe I'm sitting here thinking about.
I start out presentations by asking practitioners to raise their hand if they feel honored to be working with traumatized people. That it's a privilege to watch traumatized people go from a ball of fear to happy and confident. That is the essence of compassion satisfaction. A client smiling. A client says, I think I don't need you anymore. The client is clearly articulating what you thought of initially, and they're using it in their own words. That counterbalances the impact of compassion fatigue. Indeed, I would recognize, and my models have proven this to be the case, if you have high compassion satisfaction, it counterbalances compassion fatigue because it undermines the very kind of notions that that compassion fatigue is associated with, that I'm overwhelmed, that I'm incompetent, that I'm not effective because of my emotional reactions. Empathy is an occupational hazard because you can't do good work as a practitioner without it. The challenge, though, with being empathic is that you open yourself up and those that you're empathizing with can leave fingerprints on your heart. In that as you open up and you put all of your issues aside and you focus like a laser beam on what's going on with them and you imagine yourself walking in their shoes, they get it. They sense that you're with them every step of the way. But then when you have to close it back up, when the session is over, when you now get in your car and you're going home, that's when those fingerprints start showing up.